Okay, let's just look at the Mishnah on Pei Beis Amud Aleph. We're going to do the last part of the Mishnah because we Pei Beis Amud Aleph. So we had a machloikis between Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim regarding being Mishayir beget. This is your get. This is your get, and you either almanas. There was machloikis whether machloikis was by almanas or even by chutz. And Rabbi Eliezer says that it's a good get, and the Chacham said it's asa. Chacham said, what do you have to do? You have to take it back. Yes, yesterday, what's the difference between the kinsi shtarchova? You don't have to take back. We say yesterday over here because the amira of the get over here was piled to the extent you have the shmek from get, reach get. So therefore, you had to give it back. Mashen came by kinsi shtarchov. Not the last end of the Mishnah is kisu b'socho. If the Tanai is written inside, afa pisha chazar umachko. Even if you machak, you go back and you machak it. You go back and you get rid of it. Then it's going to be what? It's going to be puzzle. In other words, the get will be puzzle. What? No, why?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, why would he? Why would he? He says he says it's not a problem. There's only a problem according to Chachamim. Come Meissen, you know.
Well, maybe Macho.
Anyway. Okay, so let the Tosfos before we begin the Gemara. Do it on Pei Daled Amud Beis. The Tosfos, the first wide line. And kisu b'soichai af b'shachaz machi paso pirish lefishlei nichtav haget el al tanai zeh, because this get was written on this tanai. So l'char heshi the Rabbi Eliezer tanai is okay; it's not a problem. Right? The ein kan krisus, and therefore as a result, get guys, we know that a get has to be written lishma. Chasab sefer krisus, right? Everyone admits it has to be lishma. So the get has to be written. It has to be written correctly. So over here, if you wrote it on this condition, that it wouldn't be please sit down. Keep your hands off the Talmidim. So if you go ahead, Rod, and you write the get on this Tanai, you have to get rid of it because it's not. And veins are creases. Mashma dafka chutz the loy have a creases. Chazam macham dafka if you hold that you write chutz pasal. Avol shar mechken kasherim beget. Rak shiyasa kiyam hamachak lefnei shor v'kayim. In other words, it's mashma that only any let's see like another mistake in the get, guys. In other words, it's just stamazai. We know that if you're going to go ahead and write a get, and you can write this tanai, and the get was written on the tanai, and this tanai is not good, so you have to get rid of it. This chut or the chut lashon chutz, it's not good. What happens if you write something in the get, and then you want it doesn't pass all the get, and you machak it. So mashma, you would write. You could erase that and write, and you write shiyasa kiyam mechak lefnei before you write a kiyam and before the words hashor kayim. Kamakam no go olam lahachmir. Tosfos says, well, machmir, that we don't go ahead and erase any get. We don't erase any get. Okay. So again, guys, well, it's good to know. What's the reason you're getting rid of this? It's good to know. What's the reason you're getting rid of it? Because if the get was written on this, it's like a chesaron in lishma. It's a chesaron in the get. Now, there's two parts to a get. There's the toirif and the toifus. The toirif is the ikka part of the get. That's the part that has to be the shma. That's the shame of the man, the shame of the woman, all the nicknames, the shame iroi, everything, right? That. So the toirif, right? That's the toirif of the get. The toifus of the get is the boilerplate, the part that's basically the same. That's called the toifus. So now, is there a difference if the tanai therefore is stated before you write the toirif or after you write the toirif? I could tell you the following. I could tell you that if it's written before the toirif, then it's a problem because the ikka part of the get was written on that tanai, like we just saw in Tosfos. It was written on that chutz. But what about if it's written after you wrote the main part of the get and you just put it in the boilerplate? Would that be okay or not? So that's a discussion of the Gemara. Says the Gemara. Kisu b'soichai. Again, we're up to Pei Daled Amud Beis. We're up to Pei Daled Amud Beis. Okay, and we're the words kisu b'soichai shleim. Look at that. Kisu b'soichai Amrav Safra. Kisu b'soichai Tanan. Okay, further more pshita. Kisu b'soichai Tanan. That's what it says. Why do you Rav Safra the Amora adding that the Mishnah didn't say? We just read the Mishnah. It says no. So Hani Mili, when is it not a good? When is it Hani Mili l'acha hatoyrif? I would say that after the toyrif, aval fnei hatoyrif, afilu apeh nami pasol. In other words, I would say that if you wrote it after the toyrif, therefore it's no good. But lefnei hatoyrif, even if you say al peh, it won't be good. Kamash malon. Dafka, if it's written, it's no good. You guys are here. Listen, guy gives his wife a get. And before the get is written, he says, this is going to be your get. Chutz, you can marry everyone in chutz except this person. And then the get's written. So you might think the get was written on his verbal tanai, his verbal condition. So you might think it's not good. Dafka if it's written, it's no good, right? But if it's al peh, it is good. The get it would be good. Al peh, it would be good. That's Rav Safra, and we're going to see Rabbi will disagree. Rav Ama loishanu that it's written elul acha toyrif. If you wrote it after the toyrif, alifnei toyrif afilu al peh nami pasel. Kisu b'soiche guys would be pasel afterwards. Beforehand, so the guys so you have a machlokes between Rav Safra and Rava. Guys, you're writing a get before the ikar part of the get, before the toyrif is written. You say a verbal that this is your get, except this person. You can't marry this person. Good. So according to the Chachamim that say it's not any good, well, you verbalized it. Says Osafra, no. You verbalized it, it's not a problem. You know when it's a problem? The problem is what? When you write it. But verbalized will be okay. Says Rava, Kisu b'seichu even after the Torah, if it's no good. Bal peh, even before the Torah also wouldn't be good. So we have machlokes of Safra and Rava. If the Tanai was stated al peh before you wrote, they could have part of the get. But as the Rava l'tamei, Rava goes according to his reasoning that any Tanai that's written is problematic. The Amlahu Rava, because Rava is of the opinion. The Amlahu Rava lahanu the ksivi giti. He told the people that are writing gets. He told the people that were writing gets. What did he tell the people that are writing gets? He said, "Shoshku shuki lebal." Tell the Baal to shh, not to say anything. Ad kasvisu l'toyrif the Gita until it's written, because if he says anything before the toyrif, even al peh, it's going to be a no good. Even al peh, it's not going to be what? It's not going to be good. Okay, so guys, what do we have? Let's go over Chazir. But guys, our Mishnah, look, eye contact. I'm not going to call you. Don't worry. Says kisu b'saychai. Even after the Torah, it won't be good. You might think after the Torah, it was written okay, so you can be machakir. Kamashmon, you can't, right? Says, however, Rav Safra says, but al peh, even before the Torah would be good. Even though it's as far to say that the Torah is written on that tonight, says Rav, it's no good. Says Rav, it's no good. That's machlokes of Safra and Rava. Tan Rabbana, kol hatanoim. Listen to the statement. Kol hatanoim. Paislim beget, divrei Rabbi. All tanoim possible get. Says Rashi. 4 lines from the bottom. Im kisu b'saychai, ba'afil niskayim tanai. Any tanai, any tanai. Right now with mashma any tanai. Right, we're gonna. But don't leave yet. But any tanai that's written in the get passes the get. The Chachamim oimrim kol she paisel al peh, paisel b'chsav. Anything that would not be pasal peh. This is your get that you'll never go to your father's house. This is your get that you can't chutz from this person. In other words, there are tanoim that you can't fulfill. That would pasal the get. The chol she'ena pasal peh, but anyone that would not pasal peh, anyone that would be a right, that would be ena pasal b'ksav. Chutz she'pasal peh pasal b'ksav. Al menash she'ena pasal peh. The lashon of chutz, which is a sheer pasals. Al menas that does not pass al peh ain't a paisel b'ksav. So we have machlokes between Rabbi and the Chachamim. Rabbi is of the opinion that any tanai, any tanai, right? Any tanai of sheer basically would passel, right? What about other tanoim? Rabbi also would also passel. Any tanai would passel, and the Rabbanan say it's kosher. Rav Zera.
In the case we had earlier, of Chazir,
again, it's machlokes whether that's a good tanai or not. It's machlokes contingent upon Rav or Abaya. Later Abaya, Rav would be okay. It says Rav Zera machlokes lefnei ha'toyrif. Machloikis is writing the Tanai before the Toirif, guys, before the Ikapot. The Rebbe Sava, Gazrinon Almenas Atu Chutz. Now, it seems everyone would say, guys, Chutz is a shear, right? You can, this is your get, except for so-and-so, except for so-and-so, Chutz. Now, Almenas, we said, if you hold Almenas, then you hold Chutz, but not Almenas. So with Geyser, Almenas Atu Chutz. Rabbanan Sabi Loi Gazrinon Almenas Atu Chutz. We're not Geyser. That's if it's written Lefnei the Toirif. So in other words, don't write a Tanai before the Toirif because you may contemplate Chutz. Don't write Almanas because you may contemplate Chutz. And the Rabbanan are not Geyser Almanas at the Chutz. That's before the Toirif. Avala Acha Toirif. What about if it's written after the Ikka part of the get? Dibri Akol. Everyone would say Almanas is kasha. Everyone would say Almanas is kasha, even Rebbe. So we're now qualifying the machloikas between Rebbe and the Chachamim according to. Rebbe and the Chachamim, according to Reb Zera, would be only before the Toirif. After the Toirif, everything, even Almanas, would be good. What would the reason be, guys? Guys, the reason you be Goyza La'acha Toirif is because you Goyza La'acha Toirif to before the Toirif. And the Toirif before you Goyza Almanas are to Chutz. It's a Gezerah L'Gezerah. Guys, look at me. Guys, look at me. What's the reason you can't go ahead before the Toirif? What's the reason you can't write? Is because if you write Almanas, you may come to write Chutz. Okay? Now, so Chutz is a din deraisa, and Almanas is a Gzeir d'Rabbanan. Good. Now, if the Toirif, if you would be Geyser, what would the Gzeir be? You can't write anything after the Toirif. Gzeir, you may come to write something before the Toirif. That's a Gzeira to Gzeira. Because before the Toirif is Geyser Almanas to Chutz. And now you want to be Geyser L'Achra to L'fnei. It's a Gzeira to a Gzeira. We don't do that. That's what Taisus speaks out. First Taisus. So that's the reason. Divya called Kashif, guys, because of the concept of Gzeira L'Gzeira. Now, you could say Kulucha de Gzeira, which we're going to say in a second, because they are very similar in nature. But right now, guys, so one more time. Before the Toirif, everyone says Almanas to Chutz. No good. Everyone will be Maida. Where's the Machlaikis? The Machlaikis is before. The Rebbe says no, and the Chacham say yes. That's before the Toirif. The Chacham is not Geyser, the Almanas to Chutz. What about after the Toirif, the main part of the get? So now, what's the din? Says Rabbi Zera, everyone agrees. Even Rebbe would agree it's kasha. Why? Because to say after the Toirif would be Geyser atu Lifnei Toirif. Lefnei Torif itself, you Geyser Almanasa to Chutz. It's two steps. It's two Gezeris. We don't do that. Umaslis Niktoni, our Mishnah that said Kisvu Vokmina b'Chutz. Our Mishnah that said it's speaking Almanas loy pasol. Only by Chutz would it be possible, but not by Almanas. Iba Yisayim Lefnei Torif v'Rabbanon. You can either say it's before the Torif and the Rabbanon. Iba Yisayim Lacha Torif and Devei Yakol. In other words, that's not in the Mishnah that's speaking. There's a possibility of Almanas working. That possibility can be one of two ways. If it's Lefnei Torif, it's according to the Chachamim. If it's Lacha Torif, it's according to everybody. Rabbi disagrees with Reb Zera. Machloikis la'acha Torif. Machloikis is after the Torif. The Rebbe Sava Gazrinun Otel Lefnei Torif. Rebbe has to hold its Kulucha de Gezerah, guys. Rebbe's going to have to hold its Kulucha de Gezerah. Because, guys, you're being Geisel la'acha Otel Lefnei, and Lefnei is Almanas Otel Chutz. For Rabbanan Sarvi, Loi Gazrinun Otel Lefnei Torif. You're not Geisel. Aval Lefnei Torif to be a kol possible. He goes the other side of the coin. Goes totally different. So, guys, again, outside. Machloikis is afterwards. Why? Machloikis is whether you're Geyser after to before. Rebbe is Geyser Chamanat. But Lefnei Torif, even the Chachamim would say it's Aser. So Reb Zera went in the direction the Machloikis is before, and afterwards everyone says it's Kasha. Rebbe is going in the direction the Machloikis is Rava. The Machloikis is after the Torif, but there be a call before the Torif would be Aser. Okay. And what about our Mishnah? So what about a Mishnah that says it's Kasha? It would only be according to one opinion. It would only be according to the Chachamim La'acha Torif. Let's fill that in. Rabbanan Sabi Loi Gazrinun Otel Lefnei Torif. Aval Lefnei Torif to be a kol pasel. Mastis Niktani Kisvu V'Chmina b'Chutz. Aval Almanas loy pasel. Acha Torif v'Rabbanan he. It's only after the Torif according to the Chachamim. You only had that one das. You only had that one Nakuda. Hani Avu the Rabbi Avin Kamei the Reb Zera. The father of Avin, son of Reb Zera. Ksav get al Tanai. Dibri a kol pasel. If you write again on Tanaya, everyone says it's puzzle. Now, what I mean divya kol puzzle? We're not like it's and divya kol puzzle of a miflik pligi. Elema divya kol kasha. Right now, this is Rabbi Zera l'shitasai that la'achad tayrif. Everyone would say it's kasha. So you're changing a word around, guys. You're changing which word around? You're changing the word, not divya kol. You're changing the word puzzle to kasha. Fechechi dami la'achad tayrif. It's speaking lifta tayrif according to Rabbi Zera. Puzzle the Rebbe. Why did you say Divri Hakol? Guys, look at me. We got two words over here. Divri Hakol puzzle. You're changing the word puzzle. Keep the word puzzle and say Harizeh. Don't say Divri Hakol. Harizeh puzzle, and it's according to Rebbe. And it can be speaking according to Rabbi Zera before the Tairif. Before the Tairif, right? Fred the Gemara. So why do you opt to go ahead and change the puzzle to Kasha? Right? Why don't you go ahead? And so why don't you go ahead? V'leim said puzzle for Rebbe and speaking before the Tairif. Says Matana divya kol esnaya kasha, a divya kol esnaya kasha b'puzzle michleflei harizeh b'divya kol michleflei. In other words, the Brises were corrupt. They were pierced down Baal Peh. What was the Messiah? Was it easier? What's an easy mistake to make? Kasha the puzzle or divya kol harizeh? Kasha the puzzle, right? That's that to make that. But to make the mistake, divya kol to Arized, so therefore it's more mistaba to say it's speaking divya kol kasha, and it's speaking right before but after the Tairif. Okay. Let's say the shear was something that was usher anyway. A woman can't marry her father, can't marry her brother, can't marry many arroyas. You can't marry, right? Okay. Let's say the person that was left out of the get was someone who already was usher. This is your get. You can marry Hariyat Muteres Chaladam chutz from your father. Is that considered a share or not? We know a get is supposed to mata everybody. So maybe only matas vat, people who are possible muta. But someone already is asa, it'll be asa. And that and then it will be a good get, even according to the Chachamim. Right? And that's going to be the case over here. Hari atmu teres chaladam, you muta to anybody, elo la'abo lavich, to my father, your father, la'achi, my brother, la'chichi, your brother, la'eved, to an eved, la'eved kechavim. And now we have a rule, ulachol mi she'en la'yalav kedushin. And to all me, she'ein alav kedushin, and anyone that if you would go ahead and be mekadesh, the kedushin would not be typhus and kasha. Why? Because these people are usher anyway. In other words, there's not ishus. There's no ishus. There's no. What does a get do, guys? A get matis ishus. It's matis kedushin. Since kedushin is not typhus over here, it's not leaving out anything. Again, but. What about conversely? What about cases that are asa because of chayve lavim that would work? Not a fault. No. Let's see. Hariyat muteres chaladam elul almana l'kohen gadol. He's married to an almana. He's giving her a get, and he's saying the following. He says it's a get to everybody else except to the kohen gadol. Now, she's an almana before her marriage. She's not a gerusha to the kohen gadol because the get is only on everyone else in the world. Would that be considered a share or not? Why? What's the shaila? Because if a kohen gadol is mekadesh or an almana, according to everyone, with the exception of Rabbi Akiva, kedushin would be typhus. So in that case, guess you know what? It's not a good get. You guys, you hear the case? Guys, you hear the case? In other words, it was bothering. What do you mean? She's a gerusha. Why do you have to say anything? Gerusha, no. So the case is he married almana. He's divorcing her to everyone in the world, with the exception of a kohen gadol. But she's omed as an almana to the kohen gadol, correct? So in that case, gerusha v'chalusa l'kohen hedjit, mamzeres and the sin l'Yisrael. These are we all know from the sin is the gavonim. Bas Yisrael l'mamzer. The meshaya, one of these, will in a sin v'chol mi sheyesh lov kedushin afilu ba'avera pasal. Even you have kedushin ba'avera, kedushin be typhus. This would not be a good get. The get would be pasal. Why? Because since kedushin is typhus, it's considered what a share beget. Okay, says the Gemara. Klal the ratio. Now each one said ulachol. The first klal the ratio is the kol mishain olav kedushin. The klal the seif is kol mishayesh olav kedushin. Klal the ratio asuye shar chayve krisis. The klal of the ratio was come to teach me anyone that you be chayiv krisis if you're with that kedushin is not typhus, and the seifa la asuye shar chayve lavim. Other any chayve lavim. Boy minei Ravim Rav Nachman. Okay, guys, a bunch of very, very interesting halachas. You go ahead, you give a get, and you say you can marry everyone in the world, chutz mi kedushi cotton, except to be mekadosh cotton. You're not, vis-a-vis a cotton. Mahu. Mia minon hashta mia lav bar havayahu. Now it's not shaykh kedushin because the cotton came in mekadosh. Aydilma asil chalavaya. Maybe eventually he will come, and therefore what? Since eventually he'll come, it will be considered what? A share beget. Amalei. So Rav Nachman told Rava, Tinisua, you learned it. Kitana miskareshes b'kedushay avia. A kitana can get divorced with the kedushin of a father. Now, that's guys, this is a chiddush nifla, right? The father accepts kedushin. It's the raisa rabbanan. The raisa, right? Father dies. She has a yad to accept a kedushin. She has a yad to accept kedushin, right? Amai, why? V'beinin v'yotze v'haisa. Can she marry somebody else? No. Midaraisa, she can't marry anybody else. So how could you go ahead and accept what? A get? How can she accept the get? You need vayotza v'hoisa. You need the ability li'ishacher, and she can't. Vayotza, she'll get vayotza mi beisai, v'holcha v'hoisa li'ishacher, she'll go to another man. So how could she accept the get? She can't go to another man. She doesn't have a father. Ella, what do I have to say? Isil chalavaya. She'll come to the chalavaya, and therefore she can accept the get. So and eventually she'll come. In other words, she'll eventually come to kedushin, and therefore she can accept the get. Hachnami asla chalavaya. He will eventually the cotton will come to be able to accept kedu to be mekadesh, and therefore what it would be considered a share. In other words, since eventually he'll get into the ballpark, right? Since eventually he'll get into the ballpark, it's good. You're mutter to everyone in the world except anyone baby that's born. Now what's the shaila? Hashtami lo yisyalid, as now they haven't been born yet. Idilma asidin misyalde, they will be born. Okay, you're not making a kinyan. Ain't no the makna davar shel olam. Just you can't throw around davar shel olam. Ain't no the makna davar shel olam. Ain't no the makna. But again, what's the shaila over here? What are we discussing? Gitin. What's shot and get? Anything that's going to bind you to your husband. If she can't marry people, you're being bound to the husband. So good, the kid's not in the world now, but these are words that when these kids will be born, right, it's bound to the husband. So it's nothing to do with makna davar shel olam, right? Davar shel olam, ain't no makna davar shel olam. That's you hear yeah, Yankel, yeah. Again, you don't hear it's a shaila. In other words, you clearly hear the other way of the shaila, but it's a shaila. You can hear the words of the guy is binding him. He's binding to it's not a get. It's not kairis. So I'm late tinisua. So Rav Nachman told Rabbi, you learned it. Now, is that if you leave out an ever and kichavim, is that what? Is it a good get? Yes. Why? Because kedushin is not typhus. Now, is it possible for an ever and kedushin to be typhus? If they're Megaya, Emisa, if you're telling me that you take into account the future, and therefore Nailadim would be a share, everybody nami avidi the Megaira, right?
But ever can't because he has to be free.
Huh?
It's not in his hand to be free.
Again, whether he'll be Megaira or not, but
isn't the Gera cotton Shanoladami? It's a new being. It's nothing to do with the before.
Again, here's the only shiloh is futures. Right now, in other words, if you have to take into account futures, the possibility exists down the line. So good as remote as it might be, right? And in other words, you'd have to take that into account. And now we're not taking into account. So obviously, we're not going to take into account kids are not born yet. What's your shiloh Evid Shanoladami?
A cotton, if someone's Megayer, it's not the same person as before. It's a cotton Shanoladami.
We don't care about that. That's jeopardy. What we care about is do we take into account that the possibility exists? You're saying once that happens, it's done. We're not questioning that. The Elohim is speaking about Jewish kids. So good. So an Eved, that's a guy is a Jewish kid. So a kid that's born is a Jewish kid. That's jeopardy, Dove. The only thing we care about now is one thing. Do we consider futures or not? Obviously, you're not, because you're saying Eved v'Eved Kechavim, you don't consider futures. Another Kechavim, I'm saying the lumdis behind how it works, Gershon is Gaia or Eved, who cares? The question is, obviously, we don't take that into account, because if we would, it would be a good get. It wouldn't be a good get, and it is a good get. That was the ratio of our Mishnah. So just like you don't take into account that future consideration, we don't take into account the consideration out of, you understand what I'm telling you? You have to speak about once it's done, so what? Anyway, says the Gemara Vaita. Okay, so you want to say the following. Tenisua. Says the Gemara, Hanach lavlig yuri kaimi. That's not going to happen. They're not oimid legaya. They could be, but for sure people will be born. In other words, you want to say futures, but there's a difference of future to shchiach and one that's not shchiach. Hani lisyule kaime. Okay, so we didn't answer the question, guys. No, we didn't answer the question. Okay, now what's the halacha? Can a man marry two sisters? No. If one of the sisters dies, his wife, can he marry his sister-in-law?
Yeah.
Yes, right. Good, he could. So now, let's say the guy goes ahead and he gives a get and he leaves out one person. You know what the person he leaves out? His brother-in-law. They're married to two sisters. He leaves out his brother-in-law, right? So now what could happen? What's the possibility? Right? If she dies, then what? He'll be able to marry her. But it's contingent upon death. In other words, it's a futures. Says the Gemara. Chutz mi bal achoisa. Except what? The bal of your sister. Mahu. Hashda mia loichazule. At this point, because your sister's alive, Idilma zimnin de mesa achoisa v'chazule. They want to bring the same raya. In other words, again, just like kids are born, people die. Maybe it's a share. Okay. Okay. I'm giving you a get. I'm giving you on the get on the condition that what? Right? On the condition that you don't have biznus. Shalaiti boil biznus. Mahu. Binisuin holashire. In other words, you've asked people to marry by Dilma Shire Babia. Or maybe by saying that you can't have relations with this guy, period. No. Amalei Tinisua. La'aba ulavich. Now, you're saying, okay, guys, you hear the Shaila. This you get chutz from having relations with this guy. But if you marry him, you can marry him. In other words, so vis-a-vis marriage, it's a good get. But if you're saying chutz from that, maybe it's not. Good. So now, your father, his father, your father, her father, we said it's a good get, correct? It must be what? Speaking about that, and we see it's a good get. But the other one, another person is considered a share. So znus would be considered a share. Says maybe the father, as crazy as it sounds, maybe he'll marry his daughter. Or maybe the father-in-law married a daughter. So you have no raya. Chutz mishaloi kedarka mahu. This is your get al minas. That what? That chutz you're not allowed to be a shaloi kedarka. Mahu kedarka halei shire. He's allowing kedarka. Dilma mishkavei isha. The lashon mishkavei is a lashon rabim ksiv. So in other words, maybe that would be a share. Chutz mi afaros nidarayach. We know that a husband has the ability to make for a neder. So he's saying, you're mutter to everyone else except the get. You can't be made for nedarim. Mahu. In the suin holashai, you're able to marry everyone. Dilma isha yakimena v'isha yifrirena. It's a din and ishus. that the husband has the ability, and he left that over. So maybe it's a share. He's the only one who can be made for the narim. He left it over. Chutz mitroma sayach. Okay, now this is a difficult machloikas Rashi and Tosfos over here. Rashi says, "Shemtinasi l'koyin." If you marry a koyin, lo yachilcha b'truma. How can you marry a koyin? It's a gerusha. It's very very schwer. This is if you marry a koyin, you can't eat truma.
So he's not married again to a cousin. So you married originally.
It doesn't say that. It says Shemtinasi l'koyin. Yeah. Okay, if you look at Tosfos, the last Tosfos on the page, V'nir Lefarish, go up 2, 4, 6, 8, about 10 lines up. The last Tosfos on the page, about 10 lines up. V'nir Lefarish chutz mitruma shu kayin. He's a kayin. This is Heshi's case. U'megarsha l'chol dava chutz le te'asa b'achilasa. In other words, he says you're completely divorced, right? Except you should not be asa to eat truma. You have your share. The kinyan kaspa and rachmana. Perish. Guys, if a guy marries Israelis, look at me. Guy marries Israelis. He's a kohen. She eats. Why does she eat? Because kinyan the same way lahavdil, the same way the Eved eats, the same way as Chamor eats. It's kinyan kaspo, right? We get the kedushin. You want to tell your wife that you're buying her under the chuppah, right? Playing the music and everything, and you're saying, "I'm buying you," right? We don't tell them that, but it's kinyan kaspo, right? So now, what's the guy saying? Let's guys like Tosfos. Look, what's he saying? Right now, you're eating truma, correct? Why? Because you're married to me. I'm divorcing you, but you could still eat truma. So he's leaving over that connection. Got it? He's leaving over that connection to him. Good. Mao bin esuin halashayir dilma kinyan kaspa ksiv chutz mirishasech. In other words, I'm divorcing you, but I'll inherit you. Mahu bin esuin halashayir. She's able to marry somebody else. Like Dilma, l'sheiroi v'yarishasech. It says to his wife, and he'll inherit her. So therefore, that's the continuing ishus. He's going to inherit her because it's his wife. Chutz mikashasech b'shtar. You're married anyone as long as you're married with kesef, but if you're married with shtar, not. Mahu. She can accept kedushin b'kesef u'b'bia. Dilma v'yatzav ha'isa. Ishkas avayis ladadu. Make a hex between kesef shtar and bia, and all these shilas remain. Heiku. Tishri Yitaris Kushas Rabbis. Very geschmack shilas. Very geschmack shilas. So it's really points he spoke at some very, very nice rate. They're just a kids up very. This Gemara seems very far-fetched, but really, even if someone is divorced from his wife, there still remains a remnant of the original kedushin. The biggest raya is arayos. If you view gerushin as if the marriage never happened, why can't you marry your mother-in-law afterwards? I'm not saying you didn't want to, but I'm saying why? You understand? Why can't you marry certain people? Right? Why can't you marry certain people? What's to stop you? It's because once there still exists that piece of kedushin from the original marriage. It's still a piece over here. So over here, it's very gan shaykh. You're going through a whole sugya over here, right? Of you retaining something of the original marriage. You're gone. You can marry somebody else, but it's not such a far-fetched idea. All this. Okay, gufa shall get. What's the main part of a get? Just like by kedushin, hariyat mekudeshes li b'tabazu. Gufa shall get hariyat muteres l'chol adam. That's the key point. Key point is hariyat muteres l'chol adam mat yimuta to l'chol adam. Rabbi Yehuda says the dain tahavi lechi minoi, and this should be from you to you from me, right? Sefer terichun, a sefer of cutting. Vigerish shvukin, a letter of abandonment. To get peturin and to get that patazu. To go, lisnasva, to marry, the chol gavra, to any person, the tatzvayun that you want. That's what, in other words, he disagrees. You just can't say hariyat muteres chol adam. You got to write all these things. Gufa shall get shechur. What's the gufa to get shechur? Hariyat bas chayrin, hariyat latzmech. You are a free person, you are to yourself. Now, pshita. Amalol ishta. If a guy would tell his wife, hariyat bas chayrin, you are a free person, la yamav liklum. Right? She was always a free person. If you say to a shivcha, hariyat muteres l'chol adam, you're mutter to everybody, lo yamav leklum, because she's still amalacha, still owned by him. Amalol leisha hariyat latzmech. What about he used the lashon of shichra by an eved? You are to yourself. Excuse me. What happens if he says to his wife, you are to yourself? But that lashon that we use by a get shichra apply also out by an isha. Mahu. Legami kamala. Did he mean hariyat latzmech totally free? Or he's telling her, listen, you're getting mizaynis. I'm supporting you because why? Because you're I'm getting your ma'aseh yadeha. You keep your ma'aseh yadeha. We had this in the Gemara in Ksubis. Amalei Ravina l'Ravashi Toshma. Okay, guys, we're going to prove. Hariyat latzmech is a good lashon by get, even a good lashon by get. Okay. Tanan gufa shall get shechur hariyat baschayrin hariyat latzmech uma avda the kani legufei an eved that you acquire the body, you own them. Ki amalei hariyat latzmech kani gufa gufei, they get their guf themselves. Isha the kani gufa, a woman that you don't own her body, they don't have kinyan kasbo, but you don't own her. Like kol shekain that hariyat latzmech should help, and it does. I have no asik. I have nothing to do with you. What's the din? So I'm Rav Chonin l'Ravashi, Vimi Rav Chonin Nechuznoi l'Ravashi, Toshma, the Tanya. Hamoicha Abdoi Levi Kechavim. Someone sells his ever to a guy. Yotzel l'Cheres, because again you'll be mafki el mitzvahs. We had this earlier, guys. An eved is mechuyev mitzvahs kiisha. If you're going to go ahead and sell the eved, you're going to go ahead and be mafki the eved. The tzarich gets shich from Rabbi Rishon. He needs to get Rabbi Rishon. Rav Shimon ben Gamliel b'medav amurim shlei koslo oinoi. That's if you didn't write an ono. Avol kosav of ono. If you write his star is ono is a star. What do you write? Zo shechur. The oinoi is shechur. What's my oinoi? Rav Shisha d'chsivlei tivrach mimenu. When you run away from the guy, ainli asik bach. In other words, I don't have asik with you, which means what? You're free, right? If you sell to a guy, you're free. So he doesn't have to write. You get shechur. Why? Because he wrote a star that said ainli asik bach. So we have a right that what? Okay. Just like hariyat latzmech is a lashon used by avodim, it helps. So over here, the lashon that only asik bach would help by an eved, that the eved should be free. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees with the chachamim. It's not enough to say right miteres chol adam, but you have to say some very, very difficult Aramaic words. Some very difficult Aramaic words. Okay, what are those difficult Aramaic words? Okay, v'dein ta'avilechim minoi sefer t'chrichim ve'egerish shvukim. But my kamifli, what's the svaras machlokes? Guys, let's go back to the Dorim. The first sugi in the Dorim is the sugi of Yodais. That if you go ahead and say something, and is it a neder or not? Is it yesh yad in the Dorim and ein lad in the Dorim? We spoke out that machlokes is by the Dorim. What about a neder? A neder that is a neder that's machiach. A yad that's machiach. In other words, some Yodais are stronger than others. Ahei. And there's another piercing in front of him. If you say ahei, ayant, it doesn't mean anything. The nazim piercing in front of him makes it something, right? So over here, when you say aren't we teres l'chol adam, right? Obviously the chacham say you won't say a yad will work, but Rabbi Yehuda who says daim havilechim okay, says the Gemara. Rabban savi yadayim shem mechichas havi yadayim. Yadayim havi mechichas havi yadayim, and it's enough to say aren't teres l'chol adam. I said wrong before. The afagav like siv law, even though you didn't write clearly the dain. And you didn't write that what and this mukach milsa the bahai gito kamagarish. You don't have to write v'dain and this. It's mukach when you give it. Hariyat miteres chol adam. When you give it, what are you saying? That this star is going ahead and freeing you. It's not enough to give it and say hariyat miteres chol adam, and you have to say the time of the cost of love v'dain. Because and this when you write this, the mukach milsa the bahai gito kamagarish. Avaloi cost of love v'dain. If you don't write v'dain. Army will say b'diburi garsha hayam uteres choladam. You'd say b'dibura. Ushtar raya ba'alma when the star is a raya ba'alma. Guys, you're giving over a lot. Guys, here you're going. What? Hayam uteres choladam. What's mattering you? The words are mattering you. What is this then? It's a proof that it took place. However, if you write v'dain and this, obviously then what? It's not the words that's doing it. It's this that's doing it, guys. It's this that's doing it. That's the machlokes. It's like the chacham yadayim shemichichas havi yadayim. So even without the v'dain, it does the job. And like Rabbi Yehuda, loy havi yadayim, you didn't write v'dain. It's very geshmak. Amar Abaya, Haiman the cost of Gita, a sefer who's writing Gitin, leilichtoi v'din. Should not write v'din. The mashma v'din. It's mashma. It's a din to go ahead and divorce your wife. In other words, right? You put a yud in there, guys. V'dain. Put a yud in between that. It's mashma. It's a mitzvah. It's a law to divorce your wife. Elavidain. V'leilichtov igras, the mashma igras, mashma roof. Ela take away the yud and write igeres, which is a letter. V'leilichtov limihach, and don't write limihach with what? With a yud, right? With the yud. The mashma li mehach, to me from this, right? It's got to be lichimi noi, for me to you. V'leilichtov limchach. Don't make the hay into a ches. The mashma kichaycha, like it's a joke, right? Right? It's mashma your joke. Okay. The tates havoyon, dit tits voyon, tilsa yudin. Write 3 yuds. The mashma to have a you be mutter. If you don't write, guys. It's if you don't write the yuds and you write 2 yuds, it's mashma you be mutter. The tetzasman you will want. In other words, but it's not mashma that the get is doing it. You will want. You want what? You want to get married. The lorche levav the teruchen. The word teruchen elongate the vav. Ulevav the shavukin and elongate the vav. That you want to make sure it's not a yud. The mashma trichin b'shvikin, because if you don't go ahead, right? It's mashma banish or a man and woman instead of a get of abandonment. It's mashma you're speaking about the woman that's abandoned or the woman that is what is banished. The loiche levav dechedu, the mashma kedi, because if you don't, it's going to mashma kedi with nothing. I'm not giving you anything. This nava, an aleph after the lamed, leave that out, right? This mashma to become married. The mashma, if you get separated, you'll have lo yisnatsu, don't get married. El yisnatsu without an aleph between the lamed and the hay. Iboilahu. Now it's the halacha like Rabbi Yehuda, and you need the vidain or not. Iboilahu b'inyan vidain or loy b'inyan vidain. Tashma this can rava bekite eich planya bar planya pot of a torach yas plunisa. In Sasa, his wife, Davi Inslam and Kodem, the Noam Yuma, the nun was his wife from before this time. The Elo from this day on, one like Kamar, Vidain like Kamar. Well, Tameh Kulami Kamar, in Hacha, now you need it. Okay, I sent out a get, guys. Take a look at the picture. I sent it out. I do. You return it to me. Okay, I'll just read you some of the things over here. Echa b'Shabbos b'shmoyne yomim liyarech sivin shnas chamishas alpayim shvar meyos v'arba tishas. This was the year. This was 49. It's 83. Do the math. Rias oilam leminyan shanuman kan b'Staten Island. Masa the Yosva al Kaf Yoma. It stands by the sea, by the Atlantic. V'alahar Arthur Kill. That's Arthur Kill, right? V'almeina man. Valmeina Horois, Ano Meya Five-ish, the Miskari Melvin, the Miskari Mel. You have to write, this is fascinating. Ben Yisrael Moshe Hakayin, Hamachuna Maris, Haimed Hayoim B'Staten Island, Master the Yosva al Kaf Yoma al Nahar Artakil, Valmeina Horois, Savis Barois, they're set near well of water, Nafshi Badam. Okay, he's basically he's divorcing someone named Labrias, he's divorcing someone named Sherry. You'll see over here. Harlan Bas Chaim Gershin Hamachuna Sherry. Right, that was name was Sherry. Right. I met this Hayoim Staten Island. Okay, the same thing. Now, let's get to the end of it. Now, notice, fellas, notice the elongation of all the vavs that you should mistake them for yuds. Correct? All the nuns are elongated. Kedu, remember we just said just kedi, patris, vishavkis, there you go. Visarichon, yesi lechi, the yasvin, I don't know what that is. Vinavshicha lemahach, there is that word. Lis nasva lechol gvar, the taste Watson that she can marry anyone she wants to. The enish no one should stop her. Minyuma denon ulahalam from now on. Vayem muteres chalodam. The lechi minoi the don. The Havi Lechem Inoi, Sefer Tarichin, the Gerish Shvukin, the Get Beturin, these all Lashon of Rabbi Yehuda, Hakol Shor Rakayim. That the Moshe Kedas Moshe Yisrael, and they right. So this is the Lashon of a Get.
Does someone actually?
The word his vayayan has 3 yuds. You notice, like the Gemara says.
Yeah, it has 3 yuds. It has 3 yuds. It has 3 yuds over here. We'll see the other things later on. But that I thought it'd be very nice to bring it in. Okay, stop.